Joining us now to break this all down and get to the bottom of this is senior policy member at E&E Legal, Steve Milloy. Steve was also a member of the Trump EPA transition team and the president of Lippo Oil Associates, Andrew Lippo. Gentlemen, good to see you both. Steve, I want to start with you. Democrats made a ton of claims about oil executives and oil companies refusing to ramp up production and them price gouging consumers at these hearings. I want to play you what the chairman of that committee, Frank Pallone, said to kick it off today.
Big Oil is lining their pockets with one hand and taking billions in taxpayer subsidies with the other. Meanwhile, the American people are getting ripped off as these companies choose to keep production low so that their own profits stay high.
All right, so was there price gouging?
Yeah, well, there was no evidence of price gouging introduced at the hearing today. I don't know what Frank Pallone is talking about. Subsidies, oil companies don't get subsidies. As a matter of fact, they earn the subsidies that are given to wind and solar industry. The whole hearing was a disaster for Democrats because there was no evidence of price gouging. It came down to Democrats just criticizing oil companies for being profitable. Probably the highlight of the hearing was when Ohio Republican Bill Johnson forced oil company executives to admit that they're basically the greatest technology that's ever been invented.
Andrew, Democrats say that oil executives can fix all this easily, that they have the leases to drill here at home and they're just not doing it. Is that accurate?
Well, it's partially accurate in that oil companies and producers have accumulated permits over the years. But remember, in 2020, when oil dropped to below $10 a barrel, it was simply uneconomic to drill for oil at that time. Now that prices have recovered, the oil companies are utilizing those leases. And we saw today Exxon and Chevron both say that they're increasing Permian Basin oil production by 25% and 10% respectively, and Pioneer is going to be increasing their production by 5%. And so it's a little bit disingenuous to say that they've got all these leases and are doing nothing about it. They're now using them, and of course they're constrained with the supply chain issues of getting more drilling pipe, more fracking sand, more truck drivers to deliver those supplies to the well site. But they are moving ahead.
So, Steve, you said it was a disaster. When they were making these allegations, did the executives, in your opinion, push back effectively against the allegations that were being made against them? Did they talk about what Andrew just said, that, hey, look, here's the reality of how the industry works?
Sure, they offered up a lot of details, but of course, Democrats don't care. The oil company executives were okay. The price of gasoline is dependent on the price of oil. They repeated that. They tried to explain to Democrats the intricacies of oil production. Of course, Democrats weren't interested. They only have a few minutes, and they wanted to make their political points. I think that the oil company executives acquitted themselves well today, but I especially like what Bill Johnson made about how their appeasement has failed. I mean, look at where it got them. It got them accused of price gouging. And they really do have a terrific product that they have nothing to apologize for.
Andrew, don't have a lot of time left here, but do you think that these oil executives did anything to change the dynamic for Americans who are wondering when these gas prices are going to drop to regular levels? Is this going to change anything?
I don't think so. We heard the usual grievances and complaints from Congress. I think that the oil company executives could have done a better job to say, there's 145,000 places that sell gasoline in this country. Exxon and Shell should have reiterated even more that they own 0 retail service stations. Chevron has a measly 300. It's the corner store operator that is controlling the price at the retail pump. And what we see is when prices fall for oil, they're reluctant to lower their prices very quickly because they know the consumer is going to show up. And this is the opportunity for those single store operators to make a profit.
Can I ask you guys real quick, and if you can't answer this, then don't, but the Democrats keep talking about going green. If we decided today we wanted to go green, how many years would it take to literally say no more oil, we're going entirely green? How long would that take in years, Steve?
It's impossible. It'll never happen. So
Andrew.
there's no amount of time.
It's going to be decades, and a perfect example is back in 2007 under the renewable fuel standard. By now, we were supposed to be using over 13 billion gallons of cellulosic biofuel, and we've barely made over 500 million gallons. It just shows you that renewable fuels are expensive.
Right. Okay. The point is, Democrats don't have a grip on reality. Anyway, Steve, Andrew, I appreciate you both keeping an eye and checking that hearing for us. Thank you both.
Thank you.
All right, still ahead on Newsmax, previewing Putin's next moves, our own Dick Morris sat down with the former president of Ukraine, who's warning Putin is eyeing other countries. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Eastern Europe are the territories that are of interest. Basically, all of those potential close countries and the NATO members, also Czech Republic, Slovakia, and so yeah, he's very upset with them being free, sovereign, and independent countries.
All right, you can catch that entire interview later tonight on Stinchfield. But coming up next, New York City Mayor Eric Adams wants people to move back to the